Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, a show about writing and publishing with your host, J.F. Garrard.
Welcome to another episode of The Artsy Raven, and for today we have two authors. We have Connor Lafortune, and he is from the Dokis First Nation on Robinson Huron Treaty territory of 1850 in Northeastern Ontario. He works primarily in life promotion, harm reduction, mental health, and Indigenous education. He completed his bachelor's degree at Nipissing University with a double honors major in Indigenous Studies and Gender Equality and Social Justice. He is currently in the Master's in Indigenous Relations at Laurentian University. Connor is Anishinaabek, queer, and Francophone. He uses his understanding of the world to shape his creations as a writer, spoken word poet, and musician. Our second author guest is Lindsay Mayhew, and Lindsay is a spoken word artist, poet, and writer from Sudbury, Ontario. She recently graduated with a Master's in English Literature from the University of Guelph. Lindsay is the multi-year champion of Woodstock Sudbury's Poetry Slam, and she has been featured in events across Ontario, including JAYU Canada, Hamilton's 10th Fashion Week, and Nuit Blanc. She represented Canada in the 2024 Women of the World Poetry Slam, and Lindsay's written work is featured in multiple editions of Sulphur. Her spoken word and written work seeks to combine art and theory to voice feminist futures. So welcome. Now, how do we start?
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
No problem. So both of you are new graduates, I guess. Now, and we're here today because of a book called Thousand Tiny Awakenings, Indians, and both of you have pieces in it. Yes.
That's
now,
right.
Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired this book? Like, it's basically you're in it. Are you also editors or are you just writers?
We are the editors of the book, Connor and I, and we each have 4 pieces in it as well. But they're total, including us, there's 15 different emerging artists in the book.
Okay, so tell me how this all came about, doing an anthology like this.
Do you want me to start, Connor?
There's two of you. I think it's tricky.
I'll start and then he can fill in any gaps. So this book really started because we wanted to highlight and uplift youth and emerging voices. So that was really the core of the project. We really wanted to give young people a space where their art mattered. So everyone in the book is 30 and under when they submit it anyway. I think there's a couple of people who are older now, but yeah, so it started as a project about uplifting youth. And it is also the theme of the book is breaking boundaries. So every single person who participated in this creation, they're each tackling that from a different vantage point, a different perspective. But all of the work in here is very deeply personal. It's very vibrant and there's a lot of resurgence and resistance, but also a lot of hope. So as you're reading the book, you can see so many different ways that people are breaking boundaries and oppressive structures in their own lives. And it's a really beautiful thing. So that's how the book started and where we were passionate about creating things.
Yeah, we also found that it's incredibly difficult sometimes to be young artists, especially those who are just starting out in the literary community. It can be very intimidating to try to submit to things and to feel like your work isn't enough yet or you don't know where to submit. And so to make spaces by and for youth has been incredibly, it's just a beautiful journey to do. We've had these amazing voices that might not otherwise have been heard. Just creating spaces, creating opportunities where folks can showcase the beautiful things and the gifts that they have, and also to be listened to, especially with the subject that we're tackling with overcoming boundaries, tackling oppression, just those ways that we overcome can be very synonymous with the young folks of today. And so we just want to create that space where they could share their stories.
Okay, let's take a step back. So how do you two meet? Because I think you go to different schools.
Yes. So, well, Connor and I both participate in events in Sudbury. So I think the way that we met was in the Sudbury Poetry Slam. But we did both go to Laurentian at one point. So I did my master's in Guelph, but I live in Sudbury.
Okay, so you guys met, and so was it very hard? Like, what were some of the challenges you had putting a project together and
Uh,
finding a publisher, etc., all that stuff?
So the project came directly to me. It came through Latitude, and Lindsay was originally on the project, and then she approached me, and we kind of collaborated on that. I think the hardest part for us was trying to tell a cohesive story. It can be so beautiful to have all of these amazing things that are coming through, but to really just find a common story that we're trying to tell throughout the book. And so, although we are going through many different personal experiences, we wanted to create a collection that told a bigger picture, told a bigger history of where we are now in the world. I would say that was the biggest challenge with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was also because we were trying to create a cohesive story, it was really difficult picking and choosing which pieces we were going to accept and which we were unfortunately going to have to say no to because some pieces came through that were just beautiful, beautiful writing, beautiful stories, but they didn't really fit with the other pieces that we had in mind or had already accepted. So that was also very difficult.
So, what is the theme for people that aren't familiar with this book? Like, what should they expect the theme to be, and what are some of the messages you want them to pick up? Connor?
Yeah. So we're trying to speak with our eyes here to see who. I think the main subjects that we talk about are religion, religious trauma, a lot of pieces on feminism, but the experience of being a woman presenting person in the world, a lot of pieces on colonialism, these pieces of these systemic issues that affect our daily lives and how we found ways to navigate them. A lot of like familial trauma as well, of just seeing like how we navigate the world as youth with different experiences. So I would say all of those little pieces, so they are systemic issues talked about in a very personal way, which brings a beautiful through line throughout the book.
Lindsay, what do you hope people would take away from the book?
I hope that people see the vibrance of these stories. Our contributors talk about a lot of really difficult topics and issues that have been ongoing for many, many years and still continue to affect people to this day. Um, but I hope that what readers take away is our resilience and hope. Contributors really emphasized community and connection throughout their pieces, even though they are discussing really difficult things. Um, all of them show perseverance and hope throughout their work. So I really hope that readers take that away by the end.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I should ask this question. Were there any like favorite pieces for you guys? I know there's like a dozen pieces in there. But could you highlight some stories of what people would be expecting?
Lindsay, you can start with that one.
Well, I mean, I might be a little biased, but Connor's pieces are some of my favorite in the book. But I've been definitely a fan of Connor's for many years. I don't know how long we've known each other now, but we met in the Sudbury Poetry Slam scene maybe 6 years ago. And I've always really admired his work. So seeing it on the page is really fantastic, and I can't wait for the rest of the world to read his work. But there's so many pieces in here. It would be really hard to pick a I'll give you an example. So one of the first poems in the collection is by Wad Hassan. It is called Whispers of Threads. And one of the reasons why I love it is because it's so experimental in its form and it's a really interesting read. It's one of those poems that you reread again and again and you get something new from it every time. So that's just one piece I could highlight, but I could also highlight all of them for different reasons.
I agree. I would have answered the same way. I'm a big fan of Lindsay Mayhew. At any time, she actually edited my collection for my thesis and something that I'm publishing, hoping to publish soon. And so, working with Lindsay is absolutely amazing, both as a co-writer and as editor. Selfishly, I think one of my favorite pieces is the piece that we wrote together. It is a collection of our voices, of just trying to, in some ways, summarize the book and be a call to action, to get people to change, to understand these stories, to move through those stories. Um, so I think, yeah, selfishly, that's one of my favorite pieces. We tried to take metaphors that other folks had used throughout the book and really tie them together in this like beautiful bow, that gives readers the option to change or to stay the same, and to really give that to folks to do. There's amazing pieces. We have friends that submitted as well, just like people in our community. We have such a beautiful community in Sudbury and even beyond, of young voices. So just being able to put them together in a space, and to be able to celebrate together. Tomorrow is our launch, and so looking forward to that as well. Yeah, all of them are absolutely beautiful.
Well, that leads into another question I was thinking about. Like, are there any actions or like a very small action like you think readers should take after reading? Like, do you think you would like them to look up other like similar books or do something to help change, make change in the world?
I think generally I'm advocating for research. And so if folks are confused by some of the subjects, if they want to know more, look it up, talk with people, talk with your community, look for conferences that are talking about the subjects that you're discussing. If you want to know more about colonialism, look it up. If you want to know more about anti-Black racism, look it up. Depend on the resources that you have at hand. Read a book, listen to another podcast. I think we're bringing pieces of so many beautiful conversations, and we were only able to share a glimpse of it because it is confined within a poem or a short story. And so if folks are interested in learning more, I recommend them to do so, to not only learn more about poetry, to maybe find poets that you'd find similar, but also just to understand what is going on in the world and what young folks are experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. I think um I don't know if it's in the book in our acknowledgments, we kind of describe it as a call to action because reading these pieces is so moving and motivating and inspiring to not only take action in creating a better world, but also learning more about it and learning more about the ways that we are continuing to fail, ways that we need to improve. So research and listening to podcasts, like Connor said, reading more. Poetry is such an amazing and accessible way to get these glimpses into struggles, maybe that you might not experience them yourself, but they're important things for all of us to learn. Um, so yeah, motivating, reading more poetry, more books, more stories.
Now, are there any books or stories that you recommend outside your book? I mean, oh, okay.
So there's so many that I could recommend, but I can speak for Connor and I both when I recommend this one. Billy Ray Belcourt wrote "This Wound Is a World." He has also written a lot of different beautiful, amazing stories, including "A History of My Brief Body," "Coexistence," which is his most recent release. But my favorite poetry collection of his is "This Wound Is a World" for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anything by Billy Ray Belcourt. I also love authors that aren't necessarily classified as poetry, but write such beautiful things. Richard Wagamese, Thomas King, Wabagijik Rice, all amazing Indigenous authors that just transcend the boundaries of story. I think I'm terribly inspired by everything that they do. But also poets like Britta Bador, Liz Howard. There's so many beautiful poets that just share these stories, and I know we have the same books, and I can see it on her shelf, so she's picking it out. But it's yeah, I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, I was just going to mention also Kinesia Lubrin has a lot of different amazing poetry collections. And this one, the Disgraphist, I think this one won the Griffin Poetry Prize. Yes. So that's definitely a good read as well.
Okay. Now, what does allyship look like in your opinion? Because I know you are activists, but like for people that want to help, like what sort of things do you think they can do and where does it fall short? I think opening the discussion is a great one. I think we don't have enough discussions, honestly. Like people don't talk enough. I don't know if it's COVID or something. Like people don't want to talk anymore. I don't know what's happening. Or they're afraid of being silenced. I think that's another thing. So.
Yeah, I think for me, allyship starts with education, of being willing to be wrong about what you know about the world. I think it is incredibly difficult to go into a space as an ally even, and to be like, oh, I'm going to be corrected on everything, and what I might have known about the world is completely untrue, and I have to be really willing to unpack that and to know what that means to believe someone, despite it being against what I've seen and experienced. And so to take away those boundaries of ego, of I know what's best, I know what the world is like, especially as white people, as cis straight heterosexual people, as folks who don't understand or experience things that so many others do. I think to take a step back and to listen and to not speak, even if you have opinions, even if you have stories, even if you have an understanding of those experiences, to sit back and listen, to the folks in your surrounding, to research and to ask those really uncomfortable questions, to Google, because that's what that space is for, and to not leave it to the people around you to have to drain all of their resources, but also to show up. A big component of allyship is to show up for experiences that are not your own, because it's often in those experiences that we can actually have more action. If I'm at an anti-Black racism rally, I can be at the front line and be a lot safer than a lot of my friends and family. And I can show up and I can be stronger and I can be there to take a lot of that hatred, to take a lot of that pain on, because I am not directly affected by the violence and therefore have a privilege in being in those spaces. And so not only to research, not only to sit back, but also to take action and to show up. It is important to be there for people, to be there in the suffering, but also to be there in the joy and celebration.
Do you have anything to add to that, Lindsay?
No notes. I'm just kidding.
No? Okay.
Um,
All right.
yeah, I think I agree with everything Connor said. I think it's really important to be comfortable in discomfort, especially because we are all learning, and anti-racism, decolonization, um, addressing patriarchy, all of these things are things that we are all unlearning daily. And as every day goes by, we are going to realize that maybe some of the things that we held as beliefs are not true or they're harmful. So it's really important that you are ready and you're prepared to take accountability for things. And if people address things with you, that you are open and you are willing to um, change your opinions on things, change your worldview, and take accountability for any mistakes you may have made.
Okay. Now, last question. Like, are there any goal? Like, what's your next project? Like, do you have anything exciting coming up for both of you?
I do have a lot of exciting things. I'm always on the so I'm always doing something, whether it's community or art oriented. I have a collection that I'm hoping to publish in the near future. I wrote my entire master's thesis through poetry, which Lindsay edited, and so I'm hopeful that that will be released as a collection. I'm also working on another collection that's kind of separate in nature, and also a bunch of different projects with music, with theater, with art installations. I'm a sewer and a beater and a crafter, and so I love integrating that in the poetry that I do. So I typically don't stop, and so there's always something that I'm working on, which I love because I get to work with amazing community members like Lindsay.
I tell Connor all the time, I'm like, just remember me when you're famous. But coming up next for me, I am heading to Vancouver in a couple of weeks. I'm going to the Canadian Individual Poetry Slam. So I am competing in that. So fingers crossed. And in May, I'm going to be traveling to the GTA area and doing a little book tour. So I'm going to be doing different events and featuring at a lot of amazing open mics, poetry slams. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Now we're at the part of the podcast where we'll be listening to some readings. So we'll start off with Connor. So give us a little bit of context of what you're reading, and you can just start reading.
Awesome. So this poem is called The Sharpest Tongue. It was actually, I started writing it because French is my first language, and I was in this meeting with folks talking in French about Indigenous issues. And I have an incredible discomfort of speaking about Indigenous issues in French because my indigeneity is lived in English. And so it started off as a poem written about that, and I was going to go dive into all of those facets. And then it really became a poem about me speaking to my grandmother and speaking about our connection and the ways that language was taken away from her. I'll read it now. It didn't always hurt like this. To speak, I mean. Or maybe I was just better at hiding the pain, naive, I suppose. I don't remember the blood, just the taste of it. I used to wake up with bruises the size of worlds on my palm I never thought I'd let go. At night, it spilt onto my sheets. I spoke sentences into existence and let the excess flow past my teeth. My teeth were still so white when I looked in the mirror. What does that tell you about my body? I got so used to the taste of cotton on my tongue that I began to eat them like marshmallows. Their sweetness permeated the pennies tucked between each tooth. Now I can't look at medicine cabinets without thinking of maps leading anywhere but home. I've always spoken my mother's tongue. My father's too, I suppose, but never my grandmother's. She was never given one to speak from. Always mute, always left with so much she could not say. Always left on days I felt our hearts beat as one. One day she will remember, I hope. I hope she remembers. Those days when language was the only distance between us. I'd ask for du lait and she would hand me milk just the same. I spoke just the same way her husbands did. Her children too. She believed my tongue would soften like theirs had. It never did. It gets caught on every tooth now. They've sharpened themselves with every word I never learnt as a child. Namama, indede, daga, gawin onjata, gawin onjata, I am sorry. I would have apologized sooner, if only I knew how. La francophonie, une langue pointue, aiguë, coupante, mais seulement parfois. Seul ce contexte peut-être. Des mots donnés en cadeau. Maman, papa, frère, chien, cadeau. Ces mots qui semblent être adoucis au point. Mais seulement parfois. Seul ce contexte peut-être. Ma langue attachée en eux maintenant. Impossible de les défaire. French is the first language I spoke. Then English, then something resembling the past. Something resembling home, perhaps. Mais seulement parfois. Seul ce contexte peut-être. I speak in tongues now. I am a traveler seeking to learn the language of my blood, the only taste reminding me of home, the only thing reminding me of my grandmother walking with me along the shore. Anamos nongum. She walks away now. She never learnt to follow language. This one, at least, she doesn't hear my calls in Dashin. Gego maja, gego nanagana. My tongue has softened, grandmother. Just not the way you intended. I am learning the words you were never given. As a child, I am giving them to you as a gift. Nokomis, gezagen, minagoze, nikioe. I go home when I think of you. I think of home when I look into my blue eyes, the shores you have gifted me. I walk along them every day. There are no more pennies, no more cotton caught between each tooth. My palms are empty. I will be here when you are ready to let go of your mother's words and the world you keep in your hands. When you are ready, I will be here. I will answer your calls.
Oh, thank you. That was beautiful. Okay, so Lindsay, give us a bit of context and then you can start reading.
Absolutely. So the poem I'm going to be reading is called Meteor Fragmenting. It is a poem about my hometown of Sudbury, and I'm talking about the juxtaposition of experiences that you have living in a city, and how I had a lot of really beautiful moments growing up here, and a lot of privilege. And I also noticed a lot of disparity and things that the city needs to work on. Home is a scrapbook of juxtaposition, a kaleidoscope of memories and becomings, all fragmented, colorful, jagged. I am privileged to be loved. I extend my arms to those who raised me and thank my childhood, running through creeks, clean air to breathe, and birds chirping. In some ways, a paradise forged for me. If place is part of my identity, I am painted in the murals on Elgin Street. I am sidewalk chalked outside Silver City. I am calcified in the shoreline of Ramsey. I am wafting in the scent of brewed coffee in the lively Tim Hortons. Home is where every person that grew me exists. So how could I not love every inch of it? But home is also Sudbury. Sudbury like potholes in long northern winters. Sudbury like running out of things to do on the weekends. Sudbury like I search for arts community and fail to find it. I find home and city have this messy, disordered relationship. Static. Industrial buildings crumbling. Sudbury, like dear city council, give us washrooms, please. Washrooms are a human right. Spray painted and censored on Cedar's legal graffiti wall, I can't help but think about this disjointed existence. We coexist with so many that experience home unsheltered, punctured by surveillance and invisibility. Tent cities make us uncomfortable, but we are comfortable turning blind eyes to poverty, injustice, death. Home is tangled in funding cuts and community losses, the hospital's racialized violence, trafficking and settler ignorance. The older I get, I see just how ugly community can be. Just small scale examples of institutional problems. I would call it broken, but cities built on stolen land have only ever been taught how to take. Remember, the city scraps are not our future. Home made me person and poet, so I know we have imagination. Liberation hums in the spaces of its absence, winking in and out of existence every day. Community investment. What I love is not a building, a smokestack, a street name, a highway, but this land and these people are worth watering. When I drive down Old Highway 17 at just the right time, the big nickel reflects golden light and beams like the sun, and I realize even this city, in all its harvested metals, burns for revolution.
Well, thank you very much for spending time today with us, Connor and Lindsay.
Thanks for having us.
So
And thank you.
Best of luck with everything, and the links to your book is in the podcast description below. So best of luck with everything on your journey of writing and editing. For more upcoming episodes of the Artsy Raven about writing and publishing, visit us at jfgarrard.com/arpodcast. A reminder to Patreon subscribers that there is bonus content available for every episode on the Patreon website. If you enjoyed the show, you can show your appreciation by buying us some digital coffee. The Artsy Raven is produced by J.F. Garrard. The voice in the show's introduction is Chris Gorman, and music is by Tim Moore. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, stay safe.